Welcome to Scambaiting Emails. I've run into some pretty impatient scammers during the past few years, but this is the first time I've heard from someone whose very first email complains that I'm taking too long to respond. It's from Mrs. Sarah. I have already told you from my first message that the delivery fee of your funds will cost you just $100 only, and you will receive your funds today successfully without asking you for any more money again. So why don't you send me your address where to deliver your funds to you since? From her first message. But that is the first message I've received from Mrs. Sarah. I decide to check my spam folder, where I discover a whole bunch of emails she previously had sent me. Here's the very first one. Hello, dear. I'm Mrs. Sarah Jacobs from the federal government of USA. I'm contacting you regarding your consignment box worth $80 million US dollars, which was handed over to me by the federal government. This consignment box has been here with me for a long time now, and a man named Mr. Mark Edward come to my office yesterday afternoon and complained that you're died in a car accident and you give him the power in the hospital bed to claim this funds as your next of kin, and he wanting to pay for the delivery of the package, which is $100, and I told him to come back tomorrow for me to verify if this is true or not, so kindly get back to me if you're alive. You also get back to me with your full delivery information below, and they ask for a bunch of information that's really none of their business. I'm waiting to hear back from you as soon as possible. Thank you, Mrs. Sarah. Dear Mrs. Sarah, as a retired actor who worked alongside such greats as Lon Chaney and Mary Pickford, trying to understand your email message to me is like suddenly finding myself on stage without knowing what play I am in, which character I'm supposed to be, and who the other actors on the stage with me are supposed to be. I have no idea what consignment box you are talking about. I've never even heard the term consignment box. You say this consignment box is worth $80 million US dollars. Even if it's a very old antique, how could it be worth $80 million US dollars? Even when it was sold at auction, the badminton cabinet sold for only $36.7 million US dollars, which to me is a lot of money, but even that isn't close to 80 million US dollars. Also, if I have been in a car accident, I don't know why that should give some guy any reason to complain, especially if he's a complete stranger. What kind of power does this guy, Mr. Mark Edward, claim I gave him? I do not understand any of the stuff you are telling me. Please slow down and explain to me step by step what is going on and how I am involved in it, if at all. In sincerity, Rob, or as my friends call me, Rob McClellan. P.S. Which branch of the federal government USA do you work for? Good morning to you, dear beneficiary. How are you doing this morning, and how is your family and friends? I want to let you know that I have contacted the head office manager this morning, and he assured and guaranteed me that this $100 is the only payment you have to make, and you will receive your ATM card today successfully without asking you for any more money again. So please let me know if I should give you the Bitcoin address where you will send the money so that I will proceed with this delivery this morning, okay? Dear Mrs. Sarah, I just now discovered a bunch of earlier emails that you previously sent me, but they were in my spam folder. For any and all future correspondence, please have your emails sent directly to my inbox, where I will be certain to see them. When you send something to my spam folder, it can be a long time before I ever see it, and sometimes I'll never see it at all. Thank you for asking how I am doing this morning, and also how my family and friends is doing. As you might have guessed, for the past few days I have not been doing well in a physical sense. Suddenly, and without warning, my neck began to hurt a lot for no apparent reason that was apparent to me. It hurt like the dickens and kept getting worse and worse, and then my back, particularly in the Melville area, started hurting a lot too. By the way, I think you accidentally forgot to answer my question about which federal government of USA department you work for. There's a couple of departments with whom I've experienced some very unpleasant experiences, one being the IRS, and the other one being one that I'm not allowed to name due to their culture of secrecy. I hope yours is neither of those. Finally, but not last, it still has not been explained to me what a consignment box is and who this Mr. Mark Edward is. It just now occurred to me that perhaps his telling you I was in a car accident was an innocent misunderstanding. Maybe he heard about the awful neck and back pains I am suffering and incorrectly assumed I had been in a car accident. P.S. In your most recent email, to which I am replying right here, you said something about a Bitcoin address. I'm not familiar with where that is, so please do be sure to give me the complete address, including zip code. Rather than addressing my questions, Mrs. Sarah chooses to prove to me that she is who she says she is. Here is my picture, and as you can see, I'm in my office right now, and I'm ready for the delivery of your ATM card, so you actually have to go to the store now and then get me the Steam Wallet card I told you to get, and then send it to me here now, and I'll proceed with the delivery of your ATM card immediately. It wasn't until much later during our correspondence that I realized I hadn't noticed that this email included an attachment. As a result, at first I thought the picture she referred to was that little thumbnail at the bottom of her email, a misunderstanding that led to much mirthful confusion. Here's the photo I had managed to overlook. And because this will become a source of consternation to me later, here's an enlarged version of Mrs. Sarah hard at work in her office. I presume that the people seated behind her are staff members. Dear Mrs. Sarah, suddenly there are so many emails from you that I guess moved from my spam folder to my inside folder that the only way I can think of to handle them is to respond to them individually and chronologically in the order I received them. So please don't be of great concern if, in this reply, for example, I don't answer the things I haven't seen yet in your subsequent emails that came afterward. On the other hand, as an alternative, maybe I can try to refer to some of the points you made earlier, even though I didn't see them until now. One is when you said, "Here is my picture," but all it showed was this, which really doesn't give me a very good idea of what you look like. Is it possible for you to send me one that is more revealing? That same email from you said I have to go to the store and get me the Steam Wallet card. Inasmuch as I am an actor, albeit semi-retired, I am the first or second to admit that I don't know much, and that naturally, in a perfect world, I would know a lot more. I can safely say that although I know what I like, I have never heard of a Steam Wallet card, so I'm afraid I can't send you one. Around 15 years ago, I had a small but important part as the male ingenue in the legendary Broadway production of Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark. I know that sounds like some stupid comic book story, but it was quite sophisticated. On our closing night, the director or the producer, I forget which, gave every cast member a zero-grid travel security belt that has all kinds of secret hidden compartments. All these years later, that's the only wallet I use. What kind of full evidence can this alleged Mr. Mark Edward possibly have that says I'm dead when I'm not? He sounds to me like a fake and a fraud. I know you are busy in your job, but inasmuch as this could be considered part of your job, please send me a copy of that alleged fraudster's full evidence for me to examine. Almost certainly his alleged evidence is 100% hooey. I'm guessing that in a high-pressure job such as yours, you're continually having to juggle spherical objects all at the same time, but I'm sure you agree that for something as important as this, it is duly reasonable for you to send me a copy so I can see it for myself, even though, again, I am almost certain he's lying. One of your emails, I can't tell for sure which one because they show up as one big long list, includes a photograph of you in a stylish green schmata with Ben Affleck at one end, and directly behind you, I think that's Mitch McConnell, who appears to dress very differently when he's not talking about political things. I bring up the photo not to gossip, but also because I'm concerned about the safety hazard. A sign on the wall between Mitch McConnell and the darker-skinned lady clearly warns, "This corridor must remain clear at all times." But it looks as though the entire room was filled with your meeting and was bereft of the prerequisite clearness. Based upon your description of the alleged Mr. Mark Edward, you and I are dealing with a deceitfully dishonest criminal. While he might be what legal experts call a white-collar criminal, someone who steals but at least never hurts anybody, it's also possible that he is a darker-collar criminal whose alleged crimes might well escalate to violence against you, or me, or both of us. If we are going to work together to effect the arrest of this alleged Mr. Mark Edward, both of us and anyone else who joins our efforts need to be careful and not take risks that are not due. Whoever set up that meeting for you and ignored the warning sign put all of you at risk. Given the circumstances, I cannot allow myself to be jeopardized by such actions of an irresponsible person. To be clear, I know you did not set up the room for your own meeting, but whoever did didn't seem to care if a fire broke out and ensuing injuries ensued. Finally, but not last, you still have forgotten to tell me in what department of the U.S. government you work. Please let me know so I will know who, in addition to you as a person, I am working with. I look forward to resolving this issue postal haste. P.S. Also, it appears that you or someone from your bank attempted to send me 3 texts yesterday and/or today. I am not a teenaged girl. I do not text. If you wanted to talk to me, all you had to do is call my telephone number, and if I wasn't otherwise occupied at the time, use your voice to speak to me, and I would have used my voice to respond to whatever you had to say. Mrs. Sarah replies, "You indeed said a lot of things about this transaction, and I saw everything you said here, but why are you not talking about on how to make this required payment of $100 so that your funds will be delivered to you successfully? All the documents for your funds has been signed. Ownership documents, authority documents, custom documents, airport security documents, yellow tag documents all have been signed, and they have been signed that after this fee you are not going to pay for any fees or costs. So right now you have to go to the store now and get me the Steam wallet card or Apple Store card that I told you to get and send it to me here now so that I will deliver it immediately. And I'm giving you my word and my 100% instance guarantee that once you send me the card here, now your funds will be delivered to you today successfully and peacefully by the special grace of Almighty God, who is leaving in heaven and not by my own power." 2 weeks later, she sends me the exact same email with this one addition at the end of the message. "So hurry up and get me the card here now so that I will complete this delivery to your house immediately, okay?" 5 days later, another email arrives, comprised of 94 words and absolutely no punctuation. "We are in a world where different things happen every day that all I know is that God never leave his people behind, and I said to myself that before we could handle this funds worth $80 million to Mr. Mark Edward claiming that you are dead, we support have full evidence that he is saying the truth, and that's also what I told our boss, but all thanks to God that you have finally replied, and we have make everything possible happen if you do the things you were supposed to do." And 2 minutes later, yet another email from Mrs. Sarah. "And here is my work ID card so that you will know who you are speaking with. And secondly, in order to proceed with this transaction, you have to get back to me here now with your delivery address where to deliver your funds worth the sum amount of $80 million to you." And she attaches an ID, complete with photo of a real U.S. Congresswoman. At this point, I would like to stress that I am almost certain that the real U.S. Congresswoman has nothing at all to do with this scam, and neither do her real staff members. "Dear Mrs. Sarah, I am happy to learn you saw everything that I said in my previous email that I sent you earlier, but I am both surprised and perplexed by the fact that you in your reply did not address any of the concerns I expressed or answer any of the very reasonable questions I asked you. To show you how easy it would have been for you, the most important questions and/or concerns included, in one of your messages, you said, "Here is my picture," but all that showed was a super tiny image, which really doesn't give me a very good idea of what you look like. Is it possible for you to send me one that is more revealing? I am giving that as an example of one of the questions and/or concerns I would have expected you to address. I thoughtfully explained to you, I can safely say that although I know what I like, I have never heard of a Steam wallet card, so I'm afraid I can't send you one. Maybe you didn't bother to respond to that because it's not so important, and you can do just fine without my sending you a Steam wallet card. But if that's the case, you should tell me, so I won't have to worry about it. One vitally crucial question I asked you was, What kind of full evidence can this alleged Mr. Mark Edward possibly have that says I'm dead when I'm not? I really can't imagine that you would consider that question not to be so vitally crucial that you wouldn't even answer it. Can you? I also posed this query that I already previously had asked you, but which never resulted in an answer from you. Please let me know in what department of the U.S. government you work so I will know who, in addition to you as a person, I am working with. Surely we all can agree that is both a pertinent and most important piece of information that of course I need. But since you agree that that information is necessary and important, I don't know why you forgot to address it in your reply that I'm replying to now. I realize that your job with wherever it is in the U.S. government must keep you very busy, although it also comes with several perks that aren't available to non-civil servants, which a lot of the rest of us think isn't very fair. But obviously it goes without saying that it's a 100% logical question that I'd have to be pretty stupid not to ask you. Perhaps you had an especially busy day that had a negative impact upon your reading comprehension, which caused you to overlook or maybe to forget to respond to my quite perfunctory questions and concerns. Now that I have pointed out some of the issues you accidentally failed to respond to, I shall look forward to your responding to them now so that we can move forward and successfully take decisive actions against Mr. Mark Edward and to take care of the $80 million and the $100 required payment. Don't you agree? P.S. I just remembered some of the other questions I asked you but haven't yet received answers to, including, what is a consignment box? How could a box be worth $80 million US dollars? What kind of power does this guy, Mr. Mark Edward, claim I gave him? All in all, when you add it all up, there's really a lot that you forgot to answer yet. I'm sure you'll agree. Sarah responds, here is the picture of your consignment box worth the sum amount of $80 million inside it, and once you send this required payment of $100 via Apple Card, you are going to receive your funds successfully without asking you for any more money again. And secondly, according to the whole questions you have asked me, you know that I'm a busy woman at office and I handle a lot of transactions, and because of that, I can't answer all the questions you asked till you made the payment, and then I will know that it is really your own turn to receive your funds, and by then I will give you the full details you need. And here she is again that same day. Making the required payment for the delivery is the first thing every beneficiary is doing in order to receive their funds, so I don't know why your own is different, sir. So you have to try and find out a way to send this required payment of $100 so that we will proceed with this delivery, or should we allow Mr. Mark Edward to pay the money and receive your money? Just let us know if you are cool with that. If you're like me, then I know you're surprised to hear someone at Homeland Security asking if I'm cool with that. Has our government been taken over by beatniks? It turns out that in that department they really do say cool with that a lot. Quoting from the Frostbite Falls International Encyclopedia,
the colloquial expression cool with that gained prominence within the United States Department of Homeland Security, DHS, following a series of interdepartmental memos issued in 1962 by Rob McClin, then Undersecretary for Linguistic Efficiency. The phrase was initially introduced as part of a broader initiative to enhance intra-agency communication and expedite decision-making processes across various echelons of the department's hierarchical structure. The Assistant Deputy Director for Vernacular Integration posited that the adoption of this succinct phraseology would facilitate more rapid consensus building, thereby augmenting the department's overall responsiveness to emergent threats. Subsequent longitudinal studies conducted by the Office of Colloquial Analysis revealed a statistically significant correlation between the frequency of cool with that usage and increased operational efficiency, particularly in high-stress scenarios such as interagency cybersecurity briefings, correspondence with scammers, and clandestine counterterrorism operations.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised too. Returning to our correspondence. Dear Ms. Sarah, why do you refuse to answer any of my questions? The only reason I ask those questions is to elucidate me regarding what this is all about. I mean, geez Louise. In addition to not explaining what the hell you're talking about, now suddenly you tell me to send you payment of $100 via Apple Card. I've never even heard of Apple Card, so obviously we don't have those around here. I could pay the $100 via a credit card, including MasterCharge, MasterCard, Visa, S&H Green Stamps, Diners Club, Bank AmeriCard, American Express, although I don't have one of those, Discover, Capital One or a very old Chase Sapphire card that I inherited from my uncle, if you know what I mean. But I can't pay with a credit card that doesn't even exist in this part of the country, if it exists at all. I could also send you cash if necessary, but to quote the well-known crustacean proverb, only a fool or a very stupid person would send money to someone who won't even tell you what department she works for. As usual, I think the crustaceans have once again hit the nail on the head with that one, don't you? Please answer these easy for you questions. 1. What department of the U.S. government do you work for? 2. What the gosh darn heck is a consignment box? 3. What made me the beneficiary of that $80 million? Just answer those 3 easy for you questions and then tell me which of the credit cards I listed above you want me to use to pay the $100, okay? You are making this much more difficult than it should be, which I guess is what I should expect from someone who works for the government and is paid her salary from my taxes. P.S. I may be retired, but I too am a very busy person with many things that I have to do, believe you me. Ms. Sarah replies, I'm here now and I'm ready to answer your questions now, but make sure that you won't ask me another questions after I answered this 3 questions. Number 1. 1 is the part of the U.S. government which I work for is Homeland Security. 2. A consignment box is a such amount of money in forms of cash that was inside a box and you were given it from the federal government for scam lost. 3. What made you the real beneficiary of the money here worth $80 million is because your email address and your phone number is listed here as the real owner of the money, and once you send me the required fee of $100, which I'm telling you about, I'm going to make the delivery to your house successfully. Why is she claiming to work for Homeland Security when we already know she's a U.S. congresswoman? If I didn't know better, I'd think this is some kind of scam. Dear Mrs. Sarah, thank you for answering those 3 questions. Working for Homeland Security sounds exciting. I didn't even know they hired girls there, so you must be pretty good to get a job there. You say I was given this consignment box because, and I quote what you said word for word in a verbatim style, for scam lost. I have no idea what a scam lost is. I even looked it up in the dictionary, and they never heard of it either. What is a scam lost? One other thing. You forgot to tell me which one of the credit cards I listed in the previous email that I sent you earlier you prefer me to use to pay the $100. Remember, although that list included American Express card, I don't have one of those, so I guess probably I should not have included it in that list. If you'll be efficient enough to tell me which of those credit cards you want me to use, the only thing left is for you to send me the order form to fill out with all my credit card information so that you can process it and then send me the scam lost. Also, after you run my credit card, of course, please send me a receipt for my records. 7 minutes later, she's back. I'm here now, sir, and I got your message at the same moment you sent it, and everything for the delivery of your consignment box is definitely ready, and like I told you yesterday, the only thing holding the delivery is the required delivery fee of $100 only, which I told you about, and we accept American Express card via payment in our custody, so if you can see it in your town, then get it and send it to me here along with your delivery address, and once you've done these 2 things, I will proceed with the delivery of your funds immediately. Dear Mrs. Sarah, wow, we sent emails to each other at the exact same time? We must be physic. It looks, however, as though you incorrectly misunderstood what I said about American Express. I said that I don't have any of those, but I do have the others. So I do have all of the others I listed. Which one of those would you like me to use to pay the $100? I personally recommend the S&H Green Stamps card, but I can use any of the ones I listed except American Express, which I don't have. Looking forward to this correspondence coming to a mutually satisfying climax, I remain in sincerity, Rob McClellan. P.S. I almost forgot. I asked this in my previous email. What is a scam lost? Sarah replies, We definitely can't accept payment via any of this cards that you have actually mentioned here. So I'm definitely tired in this transaction because the people I contacted, you and them at the same time, have made their payment and received their funds in few days ago now, while you are still delaying your own blessings. And the following day, good morning to you, my dear good friend. I just decided to text you this morning because, according to the information reaching me this morning, the federal government agency has declared that any beneficiary that did make the required payment of their funds according to their various locations will lose their funds and they will take the money for country development. Dear Mrs. Sarah, I am in possession and in receipt of the two emails you sent to me in the previous 2 days. And with all the due respect you are due, I must say they make no sense at all. 1. What do you mean you can't accept payment by any of those cards? The cards that are the most used cards in the world and that are accepted virtually everywhere except the few places that don't accept them? 2. It's too bad that you're tired. Perhaps the federal government of USA's Division of Homeland Security Department shouldn't be asking girls to do a man's job. Men don't get tired, I can tell you that. As a public servant whose exorbitant salary is paid for by my tax dollars, if I decided to pay any, whether or not you get tired is your problem and not, for example, mine. 3. I keep asking you what is a scam lost, and every time I ask, you keep not answering my question. 4. Now you tell me that any beneficiary that did make the required payment will lose their funds. But I didn't yet make the required payment, so my funds haven't been lost. So what is the point you are trying to make? I am completely fed up to here and even higher with all this nonsense. Give me your office's mailing address, and I'll send you a check for $100 either today or tomorrow morning, if convenient. You should have no doubt that the $100 is from me because my name will be right there on the check, along with a bunch of numbers and stuff. Once you receive my $100 check, send me my $80 million consignment box, and then you won't have to keep complaining about how tired you are. Please give me your complete office mailing address so I can mail you your check. Be sure to include your zip code, as well as any office number or floor number if you have one. Thank you for your prompt attention in this matter. I realize you might be thinking, gosh, Rob, you were kind of mean to her there, weren't you? If there are two things I've learned in my life, one of them is that in situations such as this, adopting a stern tone is the only approach that is virtually guaranteed to generate an immediate, complete response. Well, usually that's the case. Dear Mrs. Sarah, I have waited 4 days now for you to reply to my email that I sent you on October 25. At this point, I must respectfully insist that you advise me of the name, title, email address, and direct telephone number, not some answering machine that the whole Division of Homeland Security Department uses, of your direct supervisor. While I fully support the advancement of girls in the workplace, obviously in Homeland Security I have to talk to a man, because assuredly he would have both the experience, the skills, the testosterone, and the ability needed to get this done properly. I shall expect the information within 48 hours, 2 business days, per the regulations detailed in the Division of Homeland Security Department's Directive Number 250-09, Discipline and Adverse Actions Program, issue date 11/18/2016. Thank you in advance for promptly sending me the information I have formally requested herein, and I wish you only good luck in any other career you choose to pursue. This time my stern tone had the desired effect. 2 minutes later, I received her reply. I have been getting your messages, but I was very confused about this because you can't make the payment the way I wanted you to. And an hour later, I have discussed with the head office right now, and they said that you can put the required fee of $100 in an envelope, and I will give you the address where you will mail it to me, and once I receive it, I will proceed with the delivery of your funds. So just get back to me here now if you can be able to do that, because they don't accept you mailing a check, but a cash in an envelope. Well, it seems this correspondence has run out of steam, so I decide to end it by not responding at all, knowing I'll never hear from her again. Until 1 week later. But the scammers have given up, as they have started all over again by targeting some other potential victim from one of their sucker lists without realizing the new victim is the same person that one of their colleagues had just wasted 2 months trying to con out of $100. Good day to you. Hope you're in the best of health. We need to hear from you as soon as possible before remitting your money that God bless you to allocated compensation fund to Mrs. Julia Polanisi, who claims to be your next of kin. She has repeatedly visited our office in North Carolina requesting for the remittance of the money based on your agreement with her. Kindly get back to me at your convenience and give us the go-ahead to order the release of your funds to her. Moreover, she has offered to pay the required fee in order to claim the payment. You have to act fast. That triggers my final message to Mrs. Sarah. You must be engaging in extreme facetiousness. First, you tell me that Mr. Mark Edward came to your office, presumably at the Department of Homeland Security Division in our nation's, the USA's, capital, Washington, D.C., and told you I died in a car accident, and you gave him the power in the hospital bed to claim this funds as my next of kin, and he wanting to pay for the delivery of the package, which is $100. Finally, I demanded that you advise me of the name, title, email address, and direct telephone number, not some answering machine that the whole Division of Homeland Security Department uses, of your direct supervisor, per the Division of Homeland Security Department's Directive Number 250-09, Discipline and Adverse Actions Program, which requires by law that you provide me said information within 48 hours. Do you know how long it took you to respond to that legally binding request? Forever. You never provided the information you were required by law to give to me. Now you ask about my health and tell me that Mrs. Julia Polanici, who claims to be my next of kin, has repeatedly visited your office in North Carolina requesting for the admittance of the money based on my agreement with her. If you think moving to North Carolina is going to help you escape the long arm of the law's long arm, you've got another think coming, Missy. Sooner or later, the law is going to get you. It's just a matter of time and a question of when. I look forward to testifying against you in court and waving goodbye as you begin your long, well-deserved prison sentence. Cordially, Rob McClent. For some reason, I haven't heard from either Mrs. or Ms. Sarah since then. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel so you'll know whenever I've added a new Scambaiting email video. If you'll be kind enough to share your comments, suggestions, requests, and reactions to this video in the comments section below, I promise to make sure Rob sees it. It's been an honor to share this Scambaiting adventure with you. In sincerity and on behalf of Rob McClent.